Okay, so I'm here and I'm doing something I never really planned to do, which is take a look at the triple envelope follower model 230. Um, yeah, as we probably discussed, this has been the kind of running joke module of the show between or basically between Robert and I. Well before the show even started. And so I had kind of never saw this getting into my system. So I've never really thought much about how to use it. So that's kind of what I'm going to do, is figure out how I might use this thing. So kind of the way I normally compose with the Buchla, I kind of just I try and build up a big patch and, just do one take of my performance, all voices going, no multi-tracking, and that's kind of it. Call it done. But, after doing that for a while, there's parts of me, it's like, well, maybe because I'm trying to stretch all my voices to do different, aspects of this patch that I'm making. Like maybe I want to get really intricate with my patching and just make like a super weird sound for some sort of percussion thing that might take up half my modules, and I wouldn't have much left to do later on, trying to build out the patch, or maybe not make it as full as I'd want to with my setup that I have now. So, multi-tracking could be cool for that, but I've always just been like, well, how do I do that? Because I don't know the MIDI, nor do I have anything that interfaces with the MIDI. But I was like, well, maybe because the 230, it has pulse outputs for its envelope follower. So you plug your audio in, and depending on kind of where you have the sensitivity and where the pulse response switch is, either sustained or transient, it's like, well, I should be able to derive pulses from somewhere, like, maybe just a steady clock out of the DAW. I don't really interface anything else with the Buchla. I don't play any other instruments along with it. It's funny, Daniel Araya from EMS, who was on the show earlier this year, we were talking about this module. He's like, I love this module. It's my favorite module. I have like two. I tell everybody to get it, and I'm just like, what? Like, what do you do? And he's like, well, it's the techno module. Like, yeah, you use it, you have your drum machine or whatever other piece of kit that's kind of maybe supplying the rhythm, and then you're able to drive your sequences and everything else with the 230. So, yeah, I guess to start this off, this really sexy patch is a audio output from my DAW, which is just on my secondary laptop. And so, I have this audio cable going into the signal input, and a pulse coming out from that going into the MARF, and that's going to, or a complex oscillator, and through the low pass gate onto the mixer. So if I press the space bar on my computer, I now have a tempo at 120 beats per second. So I could, set my tempo. I can change that around. Let's half this. Let's go to 60. Much slower. So I'm like, I'm thinking this could be a good way to keep everything at the same tempo and kind of build on tracks. Might be helpful to, if I collaborate with somebody and, we have a BPM, either if I'm starting the track or they're sending me tracks, I can set this up. So I can just Let's go to 260 now. That was at 60 beats per second. Now we're at 260. I think the fastest this goes is 400. Oh wait, that's 40. There's 400. So yeah, and thinking about this further, if I'm going to use this, like maybe if I have multiple sequences or if I want to divide down this tempo, I could use the MARF with its program pulse outputs to start dividing this this tempo and kind of use it to drive other things elsewhere in the system. So yeah, I can see how this could be useful. Okay, I'm struggling a bit. I was like, I don't know, should I plug in my guitar and try and, I don't know, do something with that? But I just wasn't feeling that. I don't know, I just haven't integrated guitar much with this stuff. Not really my angle. But then I was like, well, I could... sometimes I want some sort of secondary touch control, even just for just to trigger something. Because my main touch controller is the 218 on the music easel, but a lot of time that is taken up by playing melodies and stuff like that. So I do have this old little microphone that I was like, if I throw it in there, I can maybe kind of use it kind of like a contact mic, and just it's a beat up crappy thing anyway. So yeah, if I try like tapping it. So that is, me tapping on this microphone. So that's, actually I have it going into the 207's preamplifier first, just because it's a 1/4-inch jack, and then I could kind of swap it over to a tiny jack to go into the 230. And then, the envelope out is going into the 292, and 258 oscillator saw wave is running through that in low pass mode. So I could, that's a fairly short envelope. Could, bump that up a bit. I don't know. Is that cool? Maybe. Not really. I don't know. Do I see myself using that much? Probably not. So yeah, I'm gonna keep moving on. Okay, I'm back with what I think is maybe my last patch here with the 230 for now. And you guys, I'm kind of into it. So this idea stems back to my trip to EMS earlier this year, and as I've probably talked about before on this show, I fell in love with the time domain processor, the 288V, which is the Mark Verbos resurrected delay unit, and that thing, it's wild. Go take a look at it if you haven't seen it before. But it had a this kind of like self-looping function, kind of sampler thing, that was fun to play with, and I ended up just kind of using that and coming up with cool rhythms, because it has 8 individual tap outs that you can kind of mix in and out each delay tap. And I didn't think about it at the time, but So yeah, I would kind of like manually, if I was into this rhythm, I'd try and like I'd reach for the either the 245 sequencer or the Marf and kind of patch the kind of rate of it, or try and tempo match with the sequence that I was using. And like I kind of mentioned before, I never think about the 230 and realize like, oh crap, I could have taken one of the tap outs because it's got 8 or 9 individual tap outs at the tiny jack tap outs at the top of that delay module. And it's like, oh, I could have taken one of those out, put it in the 230 and got a pulse from that. And then I could have, clocked stuff accurately. So while I don't have the 288, I have the 277 signal delay unit. And that has individual tap outs at the top. And so I decided to set up my 3 sequencers, so both sides of the Marf and also the 5-step sequencer on the music easel, and kind of get a signal going into the delay unit and use those tap outs, which are, there's a quarter time, half time, 3/4 time, and full time delay taps. Run those, the quarter, half, and 3/4, into the 230, and based off of the initial signal I put into the input mixer, it's going to, put out those individual taps, and those will become pulses that I can then drive my sequencers with. So, this is the set tempo. This is kind of getting triggered by the pulsar on the easel, going into a very short envelope. And yeah, that's what that sounds like. But then I have the quarter tap going into this next channel. And so it's going, taking the quarter tap out, going into the, section A of the 230, and running that pulse into, let's see, that one is, so this is the easel sequencer. I've then got the half tap out, which has kind of got like a bass thing going. That's going to one section of the Marf. I believe it's a 7-step sequence. And then the 3/4 tap out. I'll turn the other ones off so you can hear it. It's a little bit quieter. And that's going to the other side of the Marf, which I think is I think it's maybe steps, let's see, maybe like 8 through 16 or something like that. And altogether, so they're all kind of chugging along in time with each other, but all offset by these tap outs. But what's cool is, so I just have the main kind of this, sound triggering it, going into section A of the signal input mixer on the 277. And I have nothing going into the other points on the signal input mixer. So if I do take one of these individual tap outs, I can plug it in and I can start getting feedback. So it's so now this feedback that I've introduced is going to start affecting how many pulses, just as if we were using this for an actual delay, about like how many times it would tap around. So I've taken the quarter tap out, or sorry, half tap out, and I'm going to start to bring it up. So I'm kind of like doubling the speed in a way, because I've introduced that next tap. I'll bring it back out. And I'll bring it back in. So that's kind of cool. Let's try going to just the quarter tap out, so the shorter one. Kind of a weird swing to it. I'm then going to take the full tap out. I'll put it into the section C of the mixer. So I pulled that quarter tap out. I'm just going to hear what the full tap out sounds like. It's kind of doubling up because, it's basically triggering, the length of the entire delay. So around where the main signal comes in. So you can kind of hear these little flurries. I've had the decay times turned down to about 0.1 for all of these, but now I've opened them up a little bit. And I'm going to bring the quarter tap back in. So yeah, kind of cool to get different rhythms with this. I'll go to maybe like the half out and the quarter tap out. What I've also found, which is kind of interesting, is, and just kind of playing around with this makes me, get my head wrapped around this module a little bit more, is it's sensitive to the frequency of that pitch that I'm kind of triggering everything off of. So that's a pretty high tick. But on the preset voltage for this oscillator, or I'm going into, from the preset voltage of the music easel, I'm going into the pitch of this, and I can lower that, and we'll hear, I'll calm this one down a little bit. If I go really low, and we have this in the transient mode, I'm guessing that there's so much more change in the amplitude that it kind of freaks it out at this point. So if I turn up the envelopes amount, they kind of chill out. And then sensitivity also is interactive with this. I have these down to maybe like, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or so on most of the knobs. But if I bring, and that's getting a lot louder. I'll change I won't do such a low note. I'll kind of go higher now. You can hear that one still kind of stuttering, that higher note. If I go to our highest bass pitch, I guess I have the sensitivity was up quite a bit on that, so it's kind of fluttering a little bit less. There's cool stuff I can do with this, like I can just open up the low pass gate of this kind of bass note. Turn down the sensitivity a bit. The amplitude of the main signal kind of drowns out the delay taps a bit. And they all kind of slow down a bit, which is kind of neat. If I bring down the sensitivity a bit. You can also turn the sustain. I I've had everything in transient. If I put the sustain mode on, I believe what this does is this is the sustain mode for the pulse response, and I think the threshold, I've read two different things now, is either 6 or 7 volts. So if you have the sensitivity pretty low, it's not going to fire off a pulse, but I'll turn up sensitivity on 1. You hear that bass note kind of get louder, but it doesn't go anywhere. I might get maybe 2 o'clock on the dial. There we go. Once I got to about 3 o'clock on the dial, that's upping the sensitivity enough. I think it's reaching that 6 or 7 volt threshold, and then it's triggering. So I'll kind of do the. So now I've done that on another channel. So it's kind of fun. You kind of have all these jammable parameters with the actual delay unit and the decay and sensitivity, that it kind of keeps things interesting for a long time. Switch the transient or sustain modes to kind of keep things going, to have fun. So yeah, I guess as much smack talk I've done about this module, I do see the merit. It is pretty dang useful.